Good afternoon, everybody. It's time for our third marketing clinic. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about writing effective online content. And, you know, for some of us, it can be a really daunting task, and we think that we can't do it just because we weren't trained in it, or no one's ever taught us how to write effective content. But you really don't have to be a wordsmith to write content that resonates with your consumers. Today, we're going to explore why you need to have some written content. And we've got some outline to help you craft the perfect blog. Then we're going to have a look at case studies and what you can do with those case studies for your clients. And then an efficient and low cost way to create an ebook. And as always, I have a little saying: write first, edit later. And really that means, as I always say every week, just start. Today I am joined by the fabulous Abigail Jones, our content creation executive.
Hello.
Morning, Abby. Good afternoon, Abby, in fact.
Good afternoon.
I can't hear you, Abby, so I'm presuming that you are muted. All right, let's get into it. Why do I love written content? Well, I believe that everybody can write based on a key idea. So as long as your ideas are strong and you write clearly, your content will excel. Authentic content is really well received. And I know this personally when I write something that goes on LinkedIn and it's, you know, something that I feel strongly about, I get much more engagement than I do if I write something that's a little bit contrived. If you've got the basic structure, it makes writing easier, and it's the same for anything. If you've got a step-by-step guide to creating a Facebook ad or to create a blog or a case study, etc., it really does make it easier, and that's what we're going to share with you today. And it's a platform for all other content formats. So we use a blog really as our starting point, and from there we can create a video, or we can create lots of different social posts. So that's what we do. Is the blog really is our first place. So where do you start? Well, the first place really is you need to know who you're speaking to, so know your target audience. And the thing is, if you've got multiple personas in your target audience, then you need to tailor your content to reach the different persona segments. So it's no point in talking to investors. Oh no, actually not a great example. No point in talking to empty nesters about all the schools that are around. You talk to them, to young families and first home buyers. Then also just focus on one key idea and use that to hold and catch the attention of your readers. You can make several points as part of one idea, but your readers really should have a clear idea of what they're supposed to take away from reading your content. Then choose your vocabulary and tone and avoid jargon. So in the property industry, we use jargon all the time. And even things like we use lot and block, and then we use POS, and then we use titled, and we use all different things. So you really, if you're going to use block, use block. If you're going to use POS, tell people it's a plan of subdivision and what you're doing with it. Use a structure. Dive into the first sentence. I often find the first sentence is really the hardest one. And I sort of struggle with, should I start with, I recently did this or whatever, but you know, just dive in. Figure out then your call to action, and it's also okay to be human. So Abby, I'm going to hand over you to talk about the three different types of content that we're going to talk about today. We shared some of this information on a few of our recent webinars, I know, but it's really important, I think, that we go back over each one. And so what Abby will do is tell you about the types of content, and then we're going to break it down and give you a structure that you can use.
Yeah. So we're going to go through blogs, ebooks, and case studies.
Sorry. It's totally me. Do you know what? I was hoping I was going to get through this in one piece, but of course I can't. And that's just the way I am. All right.
Okay. So we're going to talk today about 3 key pieces of content. So we have blogs, case studies, and ebooks. So I think I'm going to start with blogs. So I think with blogs, there gets a bit of confusion between the difference between a blog and an article. And I think people think that before they go into writing a blog, they need to have heaps of information and lots of different points of view and lots of different arguments. But that's not the case, because in order to write a really great blog, all you need to do is have an opinion and have some personality and a couple of key points that you want to talk about. And that's what makes blogs such a powerful piece of content, because they're so humanized and they contain so much personality that they are really easy to read. So Jude, I'll just get you to skip to the slide.
This one?
Great. Yes, that one. So when it comes to writing a blog, the first thing you need to think about is making it really appealing to your reader. So you need to solve a problem, or you need to trigger emotion, or you need to be relatable, or you need to inspire. It's up to you what areas you want to cover, but it's really important that you make it as entertaining and engaging as possible. And the first step to doing that is to writing an amazing headline. So with blogs, there's no right and wrong. It's not black and white. It's all a gray area. So you get to personalize it to you and to your brand. And that's the case with the headline as well. So your headline needs to be completely irresistible, because it's the first thing people are going to see. And you want them to see the headline, and you want that to evoke emotion and to make them click on your blog and read more. So there are so many different ways to do this. You can use writing techniques such as alliteration or rhyming or using a pun or using a cliche. And it's up to you to decide what type of writing technique suits the tone of voice for your brand. Or it can be something how to, 5 ways to, 10 things you didn't know about, or busted, 3 myths about. So you really get to use your imagination, and you get to be as creative as you like here with the headline. You just need to make sure it's punchy and it gets people wanting to click to read more. Then you need to have an attention-grabbing introduction. Introductions are always my least favorite part of a blog. I sometimes write my introduction last, and sometimes I write it first, but your introduction essentially just needs 2 things. It needs to be punchy and attention-grabbing, and it also needs to allude to what the points in the blog are going to be. So you can get as creative as you like with your introduction, or you can be as not creative as you like. You can start with an anecdote, or you can start with the joke, or you can start with a story or a quote, or you can start by simply stating what the blog is going to be about. That what will determine how you write is going to depend on the tone of voice of your brand. Then what you also need is an image. Every single blog needs an image, and this is important because people like to consume things in different ways, and some people are a lot more visual than others. So that means that in order to appeal to more visual thinkers and visual learners, you need to have an image. You can choose an image from a royalty-free website. You can take a photo on your phone and use that as an image. You can use a photo from a recent photo shoot, or you can even have an infographic that's relating to the topic that the blog is about, or you can even feature a video. So it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be amazing quality. I mean, it's always good if it can be high quality, and it's crucial that it's not blurry or pixelated. But an iPhone photo works really well for blogs. It doesn't have to be a posed, professionally taken photograph or video. Subheadings are my absolute favorite part of a blog. I love subheadings. And this is because subheadings make it really clear what your blog is going to be about. It not only helps you, the writer, organize all of your thoughts and how you want your blog to be panned out, but it also helps your reader identify if this blog is worth reading for them. When they see the bolded or the underlined subheadings, they get to look at your blog really quickly, do a skim through and decide, yep, this blog's for me, I want to keep reading more, or no, this doesn't really include the information that I want to know, I'll click a hyperlink to a different blog. Then you're going to have your main content. So Property Republic has 3 words that we like to describe our content by, and that's we like to educate, we like to entertain, and we like to engage. And we do this as much as possible by including content that informs and inspires the reader. So we ask ourselves questions about our readers to try and solve their problems or provide ideas or provide solutions. We also like to sometimes add a bit of humor by telling a joke. We also like to have a really strong opinion in our blogs because that's essentially the purpose of a blog. It's to convey the opinions and the personality of your brand. In your main content, you can also feature expert opinions. So if you've conducted an interview, you can turn that into a blog. You can feature multiple people's quotes and include all of that in a blog. So it's like a curated blog. But it's really up to you how you choose to add value. And the content doesn't have to be really complex, really confusing. It can be 5 ways to style your home this winter. It can be 5 walking trails in our community. And they all provide value for readers because people might not know that information and they might want to know, where can I go walking today? I'm in self-isolation and I'm only allowed 1 mandated walk per day. So information like that, it doesn't have to be super complex. It doesn't have to be crazy intricate. It can be very simple and still very valuable. You also need to include hyperlinks. And there's a couple of reasons for this. Hyperlinks will help the rest of the content on your website and in your blog get viewed because you can include hyperlinks to other blogs or hyperlinks to other pages on your blog. And this will help readers to not only discover more information that you're able to provide, but it might also highlight a service that you offer. Or if your blog is going to be too long, if you have so many points that you want to include and you've decided to split this idea up into 3 separate blogs, you can include hyperlinks to all of the related blogs so the readers can get as much information as possible about that topic just by clicking on your hyperlinks. Hyperlinks also help you to rank higher on Google, and they help your SEO because you're able to link to other pages and get more activity on your page, which will then help you rank higher on Google. And the final thing that you need is a call to action and an outro. So with call to actions and outros, you want them to be as simple and concise as possible. You don't want to confuse your reader. So it's always advisable that you use just 1 call to action. And what's going to determine your call to action is the purpose of your blog. So before you've written your blog, you've likely sat down and thought out what it is you want to write about and why you want to write it. So the purpose is going to help determine your call to action. So if the purpose is to get readers to download a brochure, then you're going to have a hyperlink and a call to action that says, click here to download our brochure. Or if you want them to learn more about a product or a service that you offer, you're going to include a call to action that then takes them to the page where they can access that service or learn more about that product. So like I said before, that's the general outline of all of the blog elements that are really crucial, but it's up to you. You can put your own spin on it. It's not black and white. There's no right and wrong. You get to have fun with it and you get to make it your own. So when you're thinking about content ideas for writing a blog, sometimes it can be really difficult to know what topic to write about. And as Judy mentioned before, it's really important to understand your audience and understand their needs, but thinking about their needs can sometimes be difficult. And what Judy and I have found is that sometimes it's easier to identify customer problems or customer pains. And from there, you can identify those pains and write a blog that helps to solve those problems or helps a customer to overcome those obstacles. So some questions that you might like to ask are, what task are your customers trying to complete? What problems are they trying to solve? What needs are they trying to satisfy? What are your customers' frustrations or things that give them a headache? What are the main difficulties they encounter? What negative social consequences do your customers encounter or fear? What's keeping them awake at night? And what products or services do they need to know about? So having these questions around, maybe having them written down or maybe printing out this slide or having this slide and have it pasted somewhere, and having these questions active in your brain can really help you figure out what your blog topics might be and how you can go about writing a blog that can help solve these problems. And here we have just some sort of topic starters to help you thinking about what a title of a blog could be or what a topic of a blog could be. So it could be a how-to guide or everything you need to know, 10 things you need to know. It might be a tutorial, a step-by-step guide on how to do something, or a process explained. It could just be a big list of resources that they need to know about. It can also be you celebrating an award that you've won, or an important announcement to make, a new product or a new service offering that you want to draw some light to. If you're a builder, it can be special features or inclusions within your home, really highlighting the product. And then it can also just be tips and tricks and ideas and hacks.
Thanks, Abby. I noticed in there that you're allowed to tell a joke in your blog. So watch this space, everybody, because you know I think I'm hilarious. All right, let's get on to the case study. And why write a case study? I think case studies are really good for prospects who are researching your brand. And they're also good for audiences who are considering purchasing from you, a smaller and more qualified group. So I would probably use it in the awareness phase, and I'd also use a case study when you're trying to help people make a decision. What case studies won't do? They're not going to go viral. So this isn't a piece of content that everyone's going to want to share around the world, like those hilarious things that are going around now. But what it needs to do is have a compelling angle. Your target market really needs to identify with it and also celebrate some unexpected success. So if you think about whatever field that you're working in, you could find a case study that's come from somebody who it was really unexpected that they got a fantastic outcome. So let's look at the anatomy of the case study. So firstly, there's the headline. So we've given some examples of some headlines that we could use in the property industry, like first home buyer shares secret to home ownership success, or the secrets to building your home without blowing the budget. How mum and dad investors can increase their wealth by building new, or lessons from a young family who escaped the rent trap. So those are the sorts of things that, some ideas that you could use to go and then interview some purchasers to create this case study. The second part of a case study is you need to identify what the challenge was. What were the key problems and issues that you want to address? Set the scene, the background, the relevant facts and the most important issues. Demonstrate also that you've done some research into how this has helped solve the problem, and introduce a hero and tease the problems that they face. So for example, if you chose lesson from a young family who escaped the rent trap. So identifying the key problem was that they were a young family, mum was staying at home, they were currently renting a place that was far too small. Their dream was to buy land and build a brand new home for the family where they could spend, the next sort of 7 to 10 years. The background was that maybe they're relatively new Australians, she couldn't work, and that they had been having a savings goal. Then introduce them and give them names and introduce them with imagery, etc., and some of the problems that they were facing, such as saving for a deposit or knowing where to live or choosing a builder or choosing a land estate. The next part is the solution. So you outline the various pieces of the case study you're focusing on. So that might be choosing a suburb to live in, choosing a land estate, choosing a builder. This is a great, for land and for both builders and developers, this is a great one that you could do together and get some joint promotion. Evaluate the pieces, these pieces, by discussing what's working and what's not. So make sure you're asking your case study, you know, where did you look and why didn't it work for you, and what are some of the mistakes that you made and what are some of the learnings that you had. Provide specific and realistic solutions. So it might be they found, they went to a first home buyer seminar that was held at a particular estate, and that really helped them understand where they should live and what they should look for in a developer. Explain why this solution was chosen, and then support the solution with some solid evidence, which might be that the whole family has moved in and they've got a beautiful front and back garden, which they can't go into at the moment, but they will one day. And then the results. How did it help solve a problem? So putting your brand in there, what part did your brand play in helping solve the problem? Use some data if you have to. So things like how long it took them, or how much money that they saved, or they got access to a promotion, or they used a first home buyer grant. And frame your business as a supporting character. So this is not all about, you know, Falling Waters Estate was the hero. You are the supporting character. The hero in this is the subject of the case study. Now we're going to move on to the ebook. I love an ebook.
We love ebooks
yes.
At Property Republic. So what's so good about an ebook? So you give something of value in return for data. So this is all about, if you have a landing page for your ebook, people type in their details and they get to go onto your database and you get to deliver them value. So this helps it to fit into your lead generation strategy. Ebooks are good because they are short on words, but they're visually dynamic. So they're meant to be skimmed. So they're not meant to have heaps and heaps and lines upon lines upon lines of information, which can make them quite quick to write up from a content writing perspective. And they deliver really important critical information to a target audience that wants to read it. And we mentioned before that we're going to talk about a cost-effective way to put together an ebook, and that cost-effective way is by mashing blogs together. So ebooks can be so quick and so easy to create from a content perspective, because you get to repurpose the blogs that you've got to create a really high-value ebook.
So Abby, let's just talk about this for a second, because we've created a number of ebooks and we're working on another one at the moment, and we literally for, which one did we write? We put together loads of blogs that we talked about. Oh, the marketing tactics one.
Yes.
Our marketing tactics ebook was really just a better written version of all the different things that we'd written different marketing tactics about. Yeah.
And it features a lot of dot points, our marketing tactics ebook. It's, it was just a case of us going into all of the blogs that we had already written, creating a Word document and literally copy and pasting the text and just changing the language a little bit, just to elevate it a little bit more. But that was such a quick guide that we were able to create in such a short amount of time, and it's been really high value for all the people who have downloaded it.
Yeah. The other one I wanted to touch on was our very first ebook, which we did with the team from On Point Events. And we were lucky enough to have Kate Stewart come into our office and give us a download of all her valuable knowledge. And that was a really good learning curve for us, because we're not event specialists, but we wanted to showcase our talent in being able to help write content for the event. And we also really admired the On Point brand, and we wanted to make sure that we were aligning ourselves with a really reputable brand. So that was a longer process for us, but it was really quite valuable in terms of the quality of the product that we put out, which was the first one, which I thought we were really proud of.
Yes, definitely.
All right, let's look at the ebook. What are the essential elements?
So ebooks work really well when you have lots of color. You really want to break up the information. You don't want it to be too word heavy. So it's important that you highlight the important quotes and the important stats. And it's important to do this in a visual, appealing way. So that could be having an infographic or having different colors, different size text to really highlight what's the key message. You want to have appropriate calls to action. So something we do in our ebooks is we have a call to action almost on every page, and those call to actions are they can be hyperlinks that link to other pieces of content that we've written that provide more information, or a call to action on someone they can contact or somewhere they can visit to take the next step in their journey with us. Ebooks don't need to be too long. They're not a really big comprehensive guide, so they don't need to be 20 pages. An ebook that's 3 or 4 pages will work just as well. So you don't really need to make one that's gigantic, but just including all of the important information in there. It's really important that you have a dedicated landing page for your ebook. Like I mentioned before, you're delivering value for data. So have a landing page where people will visit so they can type in their details and then download your valuable ebook. And it's really important that you promote it through, whether that's you want to promote it on social media, a pop-up on your website, and then you track its success. So you want to track how many downloads it's got, how long people were staying on the landing page, where they bounced to after the landing page. So the anatomy of an ebook. So once again, you want to have an ebook will have a cover. So unlike a blog, it's going to have a front cover on it. So you want the cover and the headline to not only be brand related, but also to be really appealing. So some ideas for a catchy headline could be 10 best practices for ... or an introduction to. You could even have an ultimate guide for, or a big guide for. 10 common questions about first home buyers, or learn from the best. And that could be one where you've had interviews with people. So learn from the best, finance experts share their insights. Then you're going to have an introduction. This is going to set the stage for what's going to lie ahead. And you really want to highlight the benefits that people are going to get from reading this ebook. So what questions are you going to answer, what problems are you going to solve, and what knowledge they're going to gain. And you really want to introduce your own brand and why your brand has the expertise to write this. Then you're going to have an index, and this will just be highlighting what page numbers each of the topics can be found on. And then you're going to have your chapters. So your chapters are all of the meat of your ebook, and they're just like the body copy in a blog. So you want to have subtitles, and you want to use keywords. You want to chunk things together. So whether you want to have dot points, bullet points, you want to bold certain things, you want to make things certain colors. This needs to be as visually appealing as possible. And you also want to make it easy for people to find the information that they're looking for. And you want to include statistics and key quotes where possible, as well as hyperlinks. And then at the very end, you're going to have a call to action. So whether that's a call to action to get in touch with a salesperson, or a call to action to click somewhere to find out more information. Generally, it's important to have a get in touch. So somewhere where people can click to contact someone straight away should they have any questions, or should they want to take the next step in their journey with you.
So we're nearly out of time. Before I say the final word, we We welcome questions. We just seem to not be able to fit them in. But if anyone's got a question, please feel free to email me, Judy with an I, Judy at propertyrepublic.com.au, and I'd be happy to give you a call or answer your email. Our final word on online content, which is, we say the same thing every week, but we just want you to start. Be authentic and use existing assets if you can. So there's no prizes for, being the person who creates the most original blogs. If you've got original, or if you've got assets already, don't waste time creating new ones. Use those ones and repurpose them. So next week, I'm going to have a new co-host, only just for the week. Don't worry, Abby will be back. So next week, we're going to talk about why the customer experience matters more than ever. And I'm going to be joined by our marketing manager, Georgie Logie-Smith. And you'll receive this podcast in an email so that you can view it. And also, of course, there's our survey. We really appreciate the positive feedback that we've got. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Have a great week.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.